Howdy, 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 howdy. So we're gonna get these mocha pots set up. And I need water in order to do that. Should have used my lavalier mat, but I didn't. We got eggs. Alright, let's see where we're at. No agua. Might put that one on this one. Wet the basket. And the reason we wet the basket, in my opinion, is because when you buy coffee and it's ground, there are little particulates that can clog the pool. So we're going to do mocha 2 ways this morning. Come on, man. Alright, that's one way. There we go. And the burner, this burner isn't made to make mocha on it, but we do it all the time. So, like that. So a bottle of water, 16-ounce bottle of water, takes care of both pots. Got my strainer, set them right down. We're gonna actually drink this little pot. I'm gonna drink that black. And I'm gonna do this little recipe I've seen online. Or vice versa. Now I have to be ready to close those covers. Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? So now I can look at the screen. Good morning. We are doing. Hey, Grandma. We are doing mocha hot coffee for coffee time this morning. Let me get a little closer. Oh. And I don't have my lavalier mic on, so that may be why, some of the reasons why you couldn't hear me talking. Sorry about that. I apologize. All right. Yep. So we're gonna do some coffee in the mocha pot. Man, that angle looks bad, huh? Let's see if I could jerry rig some of this angle. I am using a tripod, a fancy tripod actually. That's a little better. So let me get something that I need, and let's see if this gonna work. How do you like that? You like that? Come on. Don't do that, man. Perfect. All right, there we go. I think we set. Now I hope anybody that's down there on the bottom, they have a hard hat on. I hope anybody that's down there have a hard hat on. All right, so good morning. Man, I just got an alert from a page that I found, and they said something about a terror attack. Oh, that's great, Grandma. You drinking your coffee now too, huh? They said something about a terror attack in Colorado, so I don't know exactly the extent of that, but I'm gonna have to get caught up on it for sure. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to do this mocha pot coffee, but I'm gonna try to do a recipe that I've seen online. Supposedly this is how some Italians do it, but I'm gonna try to replicate that. That's the plan anyhow. Okay. Let me turn this heat down here. Because something I've neglected to do when I've actually brewed with the mocha pot, you're supposed to turn the heat down when you finally start to extract coffee. So I just went to super low, but if you go too low, you won't have enough British thermal units to have the water boiling, basically. Now he's about to become Old Faithful mini geyser, so I just shut it, and now I'm listening for it to continue boiling, and at some point it'll stop, and we'll just turn that heat off there. Now this bigger pot, this is my new smoker. I got that one for like $3 at the thrift. It was such a great find. Now this one here, it holds more liquid, but it's no way. Now I don't know what part of Colorado, but it just bannered across the screen, and I have some friends in Boulder. Nope, Loveland, Colorado. I think that's a little north of Boulder. So I'm gonna take the mini pot and let me set up. All right. I don't know if you see Grandma Teresa right here. All right, let me dump that one out. So I have 2 teaspoons of sucre, sugar, right here. And if you take a little bit of the coffee, I might have used way too much. I think I did. That ain't how you do the recipe. Yeah, I put way too much coffee. Said the first thing is that way I could get a little bit of coffee. My coffee is. Hey Sam, get me some sugar right quick, bro. Yeah. Let me ditch this coffee right quick. This concoction. Oh, I'm getting extraction on the other one too. Alright, so now that I'm getting extraction, let me cut the heat down a little low. Well, that's actually low enough. It's not really coming out at a high rate. My coffee is 2 sugars and cream. That's good to know, Grandma Teresa. Typically, I don't use sugar and cream, but every now and then I like to have a little fun, you know? And I'll do a little cream and sugar. Let me speed this one up a little bit because that extraction is super duper slow, which isn't bad. It's not bad, but I think my burner is not going as efficiently as it should be because I see a lot of flame down yonder. Pastor Chad Anuch, never knew how much that muddy water meant to me, but I learned how to swim and I learned to. All right, let's see what. So we'll shut this so we don't get any I'm gonna call that done. So, hang on. Yeah, yep. Nephew in the house. All right. So let me get a little bit of this light brown sugar. And like that, the bag is already ruptured. So we're gonna put a little bit of light brown sugar into this cup. And I'm gonna call that good. But the whole idea is to take the coffee and you take the sugar and you make a, I don't want to say froth. But you know what I should have did? I just should have added more sugar. All right, so you take the coffee and the sugar and you make, that looks a little better. Actually, I'm adding a little bit more because it's not supposed to be wet as much as it's supposed to be. You know you can't believe everything on the internet, but I've been seeing this video way too many times. That's what we're looking for. So we're just gonna fluff it a little bit until it makes a peak. But one of the reasons I enjoy the mocha pot in the French press is because it makes coffee a slower consumed process. And, you know, it makes it more work, obviously, but I enjoy that part of the process. Okay, definitely. I'll tell First Lady, hey, she probably already left the house, but I will tell her, hey, thank you, Grandma. I could actually see the coloration changing from a darker to a lighter, so that means that the air is whipping into the sugar. And they use white sugar for this, granulated sugar. But this actually is a light brown El Cheapo sugar from Wally World. But I can actually see it lightening. And if my surgeon finds out I'm holding this glass. Oh, if Teresa Blanton finds out I'm holding this glass. If Teresa Blanton finds out I'm holding this glass like this, free-handed, oh yeah, she gonna fuss me. So look, I've put my elbow in my waist so that I'm not holding the glass, putting too much of pressure on my collarbone. Putting too much of pressure, but I could actually see this actually changing, which is really exciting. You can see the air incorporated in it more. This is pretty cool. Now, when I was firefighting, experimented with a lot of different, you would take instant coffee and you would take instant coffee and sugar and I think a little bit of water or something like that, and you would do something similar. Or you would take instant coffee and egg yolk and do an egg coffee. But I'm gonna stop right here because I think this is good for what I need it for. All right, so we'll sit that right there. And I'll finish off this little mocha pot, y'all. Man, that's a pretty cup. Man, that's a pretty cup. And I'll give it a little bit. That right there. To me, this looks like creamer, and I'm just waiting for the coffee to lighten up. It ain't gonna lighten up because that is just sugar and coffee. But I have to admit, I don't even like to admit this, but brown sugar It's just you can make it at home with granulated granulated sugar and a bit of molasses. So if you take 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar and you take, excuse me, let me start that again. If you take 3 teaspoons of granulated sugar and 1 teaspoon of molasses, you can make your own brown sugar at home. So you could take a little cup or a little bowl. Now, if you're going to make a large quantity of brown sugar at home, then you use your food processor, and you could also use or whatever your KitchenAid to make it. But all right, now let me put y'all back where you can see the surfboard right there. But I hope y'all all doing good out there, and I do appreciate y'all logging in. Grandma was having some phone issues, so she's been doing a lot more live content, and that's been pretty cool. I kind of like lives because it's spontaneous, and lives also could potentially help you to meet a different audience, you know, because there are people that are home morning, midday, afternoon, evening. So when you go live, you lock into a different audience at times. Yeah. But so it's been a while since I did a video outside. There's a little group of kids in the neighborhood I'm in, and they like jumping ramps and riding bikes. One of them is actually, he race bikes, and I don't know the actual course. Morning, Chef. Good, brother. Have a good day, all right? Getting there, bro. Slowly. Getting there. Yeah, my brother. Yes, sir. Thank you. So he does this BMX racing at this BMX park, and it's basically a series of little ramps. You don't really jump them, but it's a little series of ramps. And so he went out, I think, to Tennessee or Kentucky. I hope I said that right. And he did pretty good, but it's good. So anyway, the reason I bring up the biker boys, because every time I would ride my bike past them, they're like, hey, 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 so I'd have to turn around and we chop it up. And they kids, they want to know how much everything costs, but yet they're amazed when you tell them, oh, this was $50, this was $100, because to them, they're kids, that's a whole lot of money, So they would always get a kick out of, hey, how much was this? Oh, this was $20. Oh, okay. This was $100. Wow, $100? Like, yeah, man, $100, So it's always funny. What's up, Stan? What's going on? Stan is my brother, but we call him Biker. So, yeah, but to them little kids, man, everything is. So anyway, one of them, and I'm wrong for this. I am dead wrong for this. I told them that we were gonna cook, and I was going, we was gonna cook. And the minute I said that, we started getting this crazy wind, this wind from the book of Job, and it was just crazy because I can't bring these little burners outside and cook on them with the wind blowing at 20 miles an hour, So then it was like they were in school still, so it's like just trying to time everything. And then one of them moved, then one of them left the group. So it's like, so one of them, he follows me on TikTok, and he's like, hey, so when we gonna do that cooking video? So I'm gonna do it soon, but my goal was to bring my cart. I have a cart, one of my homeboys bought me, and this cart, you could just pull it behind your bicycle, and I was gonna load up all of my cooking stuff. I would like to bring this little cooktop here, but I'm not, because I'd have to tote around the propane tank to use it. So I'm not gonna bring that. But anyway, so I'm gonna do a cooking video with the biker boys soon, and we're probably just gonna do like some smoked sausage po' boys because I think that will be fun, and it'll be easy to cook. They don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about them getting hurt cooking. But the interesting thing is, like, whenever I deal with kids, I'm like, look, make sure your mom and dad cool with this, because I don't want to presume. Hey, you know what, biker? I would bring them to the river if one of them's parents came, but I'm not going to the river with these little kids because that wouldn't be a good environment. Because I don't know their parents. Their parents don't know me, and I wouldn't want some adult to bring my kid to the river and do a cooking video, even though they're with their crew. I just wouldn't want that. Like at least. So anyway, if one of their parents came, then I'd do it under that, and all of their parents would have to be cool with that. They're big enough. I don't think they would do nothing crazy, like trying to walk on water. But you never know. You never know. All right, let's make some more. This coffee looks like motor oil. It looks like motor oil. And I think I didn't add any of this sucre, whipped sugar. That's too much. Yeah, that's probably way too much. But we're going to fix that. 10W30. So the biker boys are ready to do this cooking video. And I'm going to do it because I told them I would. But I'm going to probably do, just like I said, a smoked sausage po' boy. Something that they could do that's real easy. I would have did some hot dogs and chili, but I don't think I would boil the hot dogs. I would just bring like a skillet, and we brown the hot dogs in the skillet, and then, we do it extra country. We just dump the skillet of chili, jump the chili in the skillet. You should bring the twins. That would be a good idea, Biker. That would be a real good idea. Biker, I know you don't know, but Grandma Teresa is a twin. She's a twin. I think she's a triplet too, but I know for a fact she's a twin. But twins run in our family. Me and Biker and my sister, we the only siblings that had one kid. But my other brothers, my big brother and my baby brother, they have a set of twins also. So twins run in the family. Okay, yeah. Because I know Lisa is your twin, but then I think Teresa Blanton is your sibling, if I remember the chronology right. Yeah. But pretty cool. Oh, you already know that, Biker. In fact, I need to let Fat know that Chicken's Kitchen and the Coop is feeding kids all summer long for free. And that way he could bring them down to the Coop. Sam's went to the Coop this morning. Oh, okay. Teresa B is just a friend. Okay, all right, I got it straight now. Yep. Yeah. So I do want to have a little cooking video with the biker boys, and maybe let them jump some ramps and stuff like that. You never know. I might even do a live with them. I got to see. Got to figure that out. Just the logistics. But what happened, I have that little butane stove, and I could easily just bring that over. But I lost 2 pieces for one of my little butane stoves. The pot actually sits on a little rack, and I lost the other 2 pieces. I don't know where they at, but I have to find them at some point, get them fixed. I bought the screws when I went to Home Depot, and that was the intention of fixing it, but for some reason, let me just show it to you right quick. Don't break your collarbone. Let me tell you right now. All right, let's see. So I'm gonna do this with my right hand. All right, sit that right there. So, all right. So this is the little butane stove, right? And the butane canister goes right there. I painted the top gold because that was the only paint I had at the time. But basically, what happened, it started to rust a little bit, and I was like, let me just clean it up a little bit, put a little fresh coat of paint. So these two guides, pot stand holders, whatever they call them, I don't know. So I took, you have one screw that holds it in place. Let me show you on the underside. So I took the screw off, and I ended up losing, I lost these two. So I'm missing two, right? And so that's why I can't really use this stove. But in theory, I can. But now that I think about it, if I just take these off, I might be able to set the pot on this. It should still work. But anyway, so I have two like this. I bought this one from a pawn shop for like $7, which was a steal of a deal. And what's interesting about this stove, when we evacuated for Hurricane Ida, I was able to, they might look at the twins at the coop. Yeah, they're gonna be like, man, that ain't no kids, huh? For sure, Micah. So when we evacuated for Hurricane Ida, I bought a little stove like this before it, and that little stove was so handy and helpful. I actually made gumbo with the little stove. We fried food with the little stove. We cooked pasta with the little stove. It puts out some serious heat, and it's pretty efficient for a stove. So it might be big for somebody who backpacks and they're worrying about nano weight and all of that stuff. But for just normal people who aren't worried about nano weight, like you could get a stove like this if you live up north where it snows a lot, and you could put it in the trunk of your car and you could just leave it there. You could forget about it. I don't know how the butane would work in cold temperatures per se, but I mean, that's all stuff you could go on the internet and find out. And if you ever get stranded on side the road, I would not recommend using it inside the car because of off gases. But I mean, if you're in a crazy survival situation, you can definitely warm something up, eat something, cook something, prepare something, ward off something. It'll save your life, And for us who live in like disaster areas, Arkansas, with all of the tornadoes and stuff like that, Oklahoma, floods, tropical storms, when the power goes out, this is a nice tool as well. Long term, it will not work unless you have enough fuel canisters. But I have a whole case of fuel canisters that I bought a few months back for storm prep. And but also with your propane tanks, your big propane tanks, that'll actually help you out. So I have two tanks under the cover right there. And that's just for when, I use the outside stove, as I call it. But I mean, you could actually cook when you don't have power. Now, if you have a natural gas stove, those are nice to have. At least even if you rig up natural gas outside, some people are like, don't use natural gas inside. It causes problems, But back in the day, the houses were not built as airtight as they are today. So, 40 years ago, when houses were built, you had air gaps that were drafty at times. That they didn't have these double pane windows that are energy efficient. So you always had a draft in the house, whether you realized it or not. So with natural gas stoves, it was never a problem of off gases really accumulating in the house because the houses always had a draft. But now with everything being buttoned up so energy efficient, people are saying natural gas is bad. And look, I'm gonna be honest. You can find literature that says apples are bad. What's going on? Shawa. Shaw. I can't read, bro. I'm sorry. But good morning to you, sir. Uh, but the natural gas, it has its place, especially in situations where the grid is down. You have no electricity. When they had the big ice storm in Houston a few years ago, my uncle almost froze to death. He had, and you living in Houston, you're not living in the mountains of Utah. So you're not thinking you need to have a parka, you need to have a thermals, balaclavas, ski clothes. But I will tell you this, a lot of people were in bad shape because the infrastructure in some of these tropical places are not designed for cold weather to date. Now in New Orleans and in most of Louisiana, most, not all of it, but in New Orleans, Lafourche Parish, Terrebonne Parish, I know this for a fact, we have a dry barrel fire hydrant. So the fire hydrant is set up and designed that it does not have water in the pipe. The water is all, the flange that lets water in the pipe, that flange is below the freeze line in the earth. And I remember my papa used to tell me when he was young and before he became an adult, they always had ice on the ground in wintertime. You didn't have hot days during the winter. But nowadays, we have hot days during the winter all the time, if we get a winter. I remember not that long ago, if you take a 5-year stretch, we might have one winter in 5 years. And so last winter was, it was amazing. Yeah, so we just having what we call coffee time. And coffee time is just a moment where you have a cup of brew or tea and you just solve the world's problems, one cup at a time. So coffee time is a moment in your day during a conversation. We're in New Orleans. Yep, we're in New Orleans. So having these little stoves like this can actually help you to be prepared in a situation where you don't have the things we've come to live with, like electricity. And everything is, in some units, I think Grandma Teresa, her whole unit is electric. So if she loses power, then, it's like, well, do you have that Crisco candle? Or do you have a means to stay warm, a battery operated something? Do you have the means to generate a little heat? Do you have the right clothes where you can layer up and bundle up? And so it's all about being prepared, especially if you live in an area where there are certain vulnerabilities, because of weather events. And so that's why I'm glad to have the little stove. It's portable, and you can use it anywhere. You know, a lot of people cook online with them. I don't know if I would do that inside, but a lot of people I see have a little stove, a butane stove, and they're inside cooking with it. So I've seen that quite a bit. But yeah, coffee time is a good time, Sha. Yep, we enjoy it too. You know, but I'm gonna end the coffee time. I got 99 things to do today, and I just wanted to take a moment to hop on and tell everybody, hey. And I wanted to try that sugar and a little bit of coffee whip, and it came out pretty good. Came out pretty good. Will I do it again? Yes. Charcoal grill ready just in case. I'm ready to cook if needed to, but everything else, no. I have flashlight and lanterns ready to see. Grandma, you know what would be really cool? The next time, or if you could make a video of your no no energy no energy or power grid down preparedness. If you could do a video on that, that would be so cool. And maybe one day I'll do a video on my I don't want to say bug out bag, but I'll do a video on my go bag, my natural disaster go bag. But I think that would be a good idea because, like, one of the things I like about your channel, Grandma, is you're a senior on a budget and you show folks how to be resourceful with cooking. And also, like some of the tips on the food banks that you have in your area that look out for seniors, like that's all content that I think a lot of people may not show. You don't have a lot of channels doing that. That's what I'm saying. But I think with the bad weather events that y'all have, y'all have snowstorms, y'all have thunderstorms like most places do. But I think that would be a good topic of just how to be ready. I know, like with your pantry, like with your food pantry, like you always talk about your food pantry, and just being ready in case you can't go to the store. And I have a food pantry also. I might do a video on that one day. Um, but I think that's a great idea, though. That's right. Hey, Stan, you already know how it is. People aren't ready at all. Katrina happened. Like I had 5 gallons of water and a 50-pound bag of rice. I was ready. I was ready to ride the storm out. Yeah. And look, but that shows though, Grandma Teresa, I was ready to ride the storm out with 5 gallons of water and 50 pounds of rice. I knew I would not starve with that rice. And I knew that they had a patch of woods not far away where I could get a rabbit or a squirrel or a raccoon. And if I hold my nose and don't look, a possum, But I also knew that we had the canal right there where we could get some fish if need be. So I kind of already had an idea of what I would do, if the disaster just shut everything down where I lived. But I'm glad we evacuated in retrospect. I'm glad we evacuated because once we evacuated, those packets of barbecue, tuna, and chicken that's already prepared to eat. That's what I'm saying. Those are great ideas to tell people about because when you're working and you make money, you're not thinking about grid down situations. You're not thinking about I can't get to the store situations. The average household in the United States only has about 7 meals inside the house. So you may have 7 days of food, but this is the thing. Do you have 7 days of water? Do you have 7 days of water for everybody in the house? Do you have 14 days of food? So personally, if you have 3 months of food, you could ride out the majority of situations that may happen in a household or in your area. With 3 months of food, you could ride out the majority of that. But if you have the ability to save seeds, like tomato seeds, cucumber seeds, cucumber seeds, like okra, things like that, right when the spring rolls around, you could plant that. And you could eat that squash, you could eat cucumbers, you could eat tomatoes, all within a 4-month period. It'll produce. So if you could have 3 months of food, and then you have a few fishing hooks, a 22 long rifle, where you could get small game, or a really good pellet gun, where you could get a dove or a squirrel or something like that. I mean, you could do pretty good. You could do really good actually. But if you also have the ability to plant according to the season and you have some seeds picked up, you might have to wait 3 months. But in 3 months' time, you're eating. That's right, a solar generator or a gas generator. They even make a combo propane generator and fuel generator. But solar is also good to have because you're only dependent on the sun. Now, this is something that I've never done, but I'm very interested in. I've looked at 1,000 videos on a solar oven. Now, I used to have a job where I filled up helicopters at a airstrip, and the head man, his name was Mr. Breck, Shabrek or something like that. But Breck had a solar oven, and what he would do, he would take a roast before he went on shift. He put the roast in the solar oven, and he left it right on his porch because his porch basically had sun all day until the evening. But he would leave that roast in the solar oven, and that solar oven would work great. Yeah, a window planter could work for like herbs and things like that. And depending on how deep the soil would be, it might be able to work for other things like cherry tomatoes, stuff like that. But also keep in mind, buckets work great. Like planters, buckets and things like that. You could do really good with buckets, you know, or planters. But so there's ways to prep for the event. Like when I grew okra, I would always save some seed for next year. And I'd pick it up. Oh, they're not allowed. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's understandable. That's understandable. That's understandable. You know, different places have different rules. Um, a lot of people with limited space, they plant stuff inside in a bucket, and they get their exercise bringing it outside during the day. Then they bring it inside, outside, you know. But I mean, you know, there are different things that some folks are able to do. And that's the beautiful thing about YouTube. A lot of people have ideas and concepts, and they give it away for free on YouTube. You just have to watch the video. Hydroponics. I'm with you, biker. Now, something that is really cool. Back when I was a kid, they had these chest deep freezers, and there are people who turned the chest deep freezer into a fish farm. And the craziest thing ever, if you look it up on YouTube, you could look at chest freezer fish tanks. And these people put tilapia and other fish in these chest freezers, and they fish right there. Yeah, yeah, you kind of have to at that complex, Ramon. Yeah, definitely. And they fish right in their chest freezer. And I think like whenever I move and I start homesteading or going off the grid, I'm gonna have a chest freezer pond, fish pond, because it's right there by the house. You don't have to worry about no snakes crawling up the deep freezer and hopping in it, you know. Just put a piranha in it, you know. But I'm gonna do a chest freezer tilapia farm, and I'm gonna figure that out. Let me turn this gas off. I keep getting whiffs of it. I don't always turn it off at the bottle, but I kept getting little faint hints of gas. So let me just turn it off. But I'm really interested in hydroponics. I'm also interested in the fish farm. If you have like one of those, you could actually make it. If you have the ability to get a tarp and some wood and build a frame, they have people that make all kind of fish ponds that are above ground. Some people use swimming pools, like above ground swimming pools. There's a guy in California, and he has a built-in swimming pool, and he was tired of doing the maintenance on it. So what he did was he turned it into a tilapia farm, And where I found this guy at was, I did not know this because I went off grid mentally from TV for like 15 years where I just didn't watch TV. But there's a show on it was on National Geographic called Preppers, something like that. All right, Sams. It was called Preppers. And what was so interesting about this show was a lot of these folks who were preppers, they had different reasons why they were preppers. But this one guy took that swimming pool, the built-in swimming pool. He filled, so you have a deep end and you have a shallow end. So he went in the deep end and filled the water up all the way until he could just be in the shallow end of the pool on dry bottom, and he fishes the deep end of his pool. And he has to fish every day or every 2 days to remove tilapia from the pool because that's how fast they generate more tilapia. Yeah, yeah, that's right, Stan. And this dude is catching fresh fish at his house every day, you know. And and because of how he has it set up, it's a self-sustained ecosystem, you know. And so I'm interested in all of that stuff because I think it only makes sense. I know an old guy. I got this aluminum pot. Y'all might have saw it on a channel, but I have this aluminum pot that was handmade, and I got it when this old guy passed away. He was 93 years old. He lived. He actually worked on a few plantations out in the Lafourche Parish and a lot of the river parishes in Louisiana. And during the Great Depression, he said, my family never knew that there was a Great Depression. He said we had beef, we had pork, we had wild game, we had vegetables, we had all the food we could eat. They never went to bed hungry at all. And it was all because they lived off the land. You know, they were farmers. And they weren't affected like some folks in the cities were affected, you know. And so if you live in the city, you can still be resourceful. That's right. That's right, Stan. You can still be resourceful because you have things that you can do. Now, you have a lot of people that are not creative. They don't think outside the bun. But YouTube is filled with people who are creative and they want to help you to learn a different way or a different concept. And all you have to do is watch the boring content, you know? And so that's one of the things I love about people who show you what they do, because it'll give you an idea. And whether you do it or not, you're learning from it. And that lesson that you learned is right there in your head. And if you just put a few of those things into your lifestyle, your routine, it'll make you better prepared, you know? And so I am not a prepper in the sense of doomsday, but I am a prepper in the sense of it's my responsibility to have it together so that in the event, you know, that's true. Attention span deficiency. It's rampant. It's rampant. But it's our responsibility to have it together. That's right. Because we all live in areas of natural disaster, or, you know, like when the 18-wheeler truckers were, I think they were on strike or something. They weren't letting people pass on the road. Like, the actual food chain is very fragile, because when the stores run out, you know, like we learned that during our blizzard, January 21st, January 22nd, 23rd, 24th, like, you can't travel on these roads safely. That's a great idea too, Grandma Teresa. Having shelf stable items that are ready to use. And something I did right after Hurricane Ida, I got my food pantry together and I purchased shelf stable things that are ready to use. that are also name brand. Because think about it, everybody don't eat beanie weenie. Some people want Prairie Belt, you know, or like even with Spam, some folks they only want name brand items in a can. So what I did was I just bought name brand items for certain things because I didn't want that to cause a morale shift if we didn't have the ability to have what we wanted, you know. It's weird, but sometimes morale, I'll tell you a little story about morale. So one day, me and Biker, we were, it was my dad, Biker, me, and brother-in-law. We were fishing. Now, my dad was like, hey, bring this, bring that. I'm like, come on, man, let's go. My dad is a very prepared person. But when I was younger, I used to be a little bit more impetuous. And so I thought he was just dragging his feet, procrastinating. Like, come on, Paw, you know? And so we would have ate all of them. Hey, Biker, you already know, bro. You already know. They didn't stand a chance, you know. So we go on this boat, and Biker has this guy he was friends with, and he was like, look, the fish are here. So we go on a boat, we have nothing but breakdown after breakdown after breakdown. All of those tools that my dad told us to bring, we used every single thing. Oh yeah, that's right. I forget old boy that worked at Pep Boy's name, but he was with us too, Biker, because he was the mechanic. So every tool that's where oh yeah, that's right. That's where we get it from. That's right. So Pops was telling me. So anyway, we out there and we fixed the boat. Brother-in-law drove all the way, almost 2 hours away to buy a part. This was on like Memorial Day also. It was either Memorial Day or Labor Day. I know everything was closed. What we needed was 2 hours away. My wife, first lady, brought the credit card to brother-in-law. Brother-in-law drove 2 hours away to buy the part we needed, came all the way back, came fishing with us, and it was an epic trip. We caught some of the prettiest Louisiana redfish I ever saw in my life. Um, but the second boat was leaving, and they told us how to get out. Hello, Nakamoga, Rahima, how's it going? So they told us how to get out. Now, I had never been to West Point Lahash fishing in this area. So it was cool. All right, cool. So the motor started running bad when we finally decided to leave. And we were trying to find this canal or this opening in this canal we were in. And so look, cell phones don't work out here. GPS ain't working. You know what I mean? So we trying to figure this out. And Biker was like, look, man, we bet not be lost, you know, something like that. And I'm like, look, Biker, chill out. He said, I'll throw you off this boat. And I was like, oh, man, we done messed up, you know. But look, Jay, I enjoyed that trip. And 15 years later, that trip was a great trip. In the moment, the morale got really low because we felt lost. We felt trapped. We felt stranded. It was very terrifying in that sense. None of us were prepared to spend a night on the water in this raggedy boat that we were in. But it was very exciting. And now I look back, it was a great trip, you know. And that's the point I'm trying to make. So when you are prepared and morale doesn't get low because you're prepared, you have the edge in a grid down situation. You have the edge in a natural disaster with wreckage all around you. And part of having morale high is being prepared. We didn't sink. That's right. We didn't sink. We got home. We had beautiful redfish, you know. That was a great trip. And the adventure made it even more special. the challenge made it more special, you know, because we gained strength through that trip. So now if we have another trip and it's bad in that sense, it ain't gonna break us because we done already been through worse than that. That's what I'm trying to say. So the trip was great, you know, and so that's what taught me about grid down situations. Hurricane Katrina taught me about why I should be prepared, or wait up, I'm not prepared. When they rationed gas or the electricity didn't work and fuel, so you couldn't get fuel, or you only could use cash and coin. Like that was a humbling experience. Oh yeah, that car was maxed out. Steering cable got changed. All of that, you know, it was an epic trip. We used every socket, every screwdriver. I think that guy name was Jay, the mechanic. Jay, maybe. Ron, I don't know, but I know he was money that day. I know that for a fact. And that's the thing, grandmother. So what I learned about being ready for everything is this: if I'm ready to have, if I'm ready to have, if I'm ready by having water, food, and the ability to make fire or to generate warmth or shelter, you could weather out anything. Like you could endure anything when you have enough water and enough food, and you have some type of shelter. Now, will it be pleasant? Not really. Fuel cans and fuel. That's right. You need that, especially if you have a means to get fuel or you have fuel. You got to keep it fresh, and then it's just a measure of rationing your resources at that point until the cavalry comes, if they come. You know, I remember looking at this video of this guy. He was an avid outdoorsman, knew how to live off the land, and he ended up he ended up getting going hiking, and the weather changed, and I think he got injured. So he found this horse stable that was in the middle of nowhere, and it had some old oats in it, some old oats or corn, and he survived for 30 plus days uh, like that. And he ran out of food, and he eventually starved to death. So he was missing quite a while, and he was injured, so that's why he had to just shelter in place. So when they found him, you know, he had, you know, succumbed to the conditions, the elements, basically. But things happen fast, so he wasn't prepared for that. But because of the skill set he had, he lasted longer than most people would have lasted. Um, there was a guy down in the Amazon rainforest. He survived 80 days in the rainforest with nothing. When they found him, he was so emaciated and he was at the brink of death. But he made it. He made it. But he, like you said, mindset. He had the mindset of a survivor, and things worked out for him. There is a movie. There's a movie. I saw it on Netflix. I think it was called Walking Out, and the movie was based on. It was a dad and a mom who split up. So the son would go see the dad every hunting season while he was out of school. And so the son and the dad are in the woods, and before they actually go hunting, they target shoot. They go over the, you know, because when you learn that little whistle and you hear that in the woods, then you go and you do it back to the person that did it. He did, biker. He did, because he had that mentality of, let me learn certain things so if I ever need it, I have it. And it was beneficial to him. So in this movie, the dad gives his son all of these reminders of stuff he knew. But because of the relationship with mom and dad being estranged, you know, he's at this little rebellious age. So anyway, they go in the woods and they have this epic adventure, you know. And at some point, the dad puts the son in a tree. I don't know if it's because he saw a bear or what, but he puts the son in a tree. And so when the dad gives the son the rifle, the muzzle, the barrel is pointed down. And how do you think the son grabbed the rifle? Right there by the trigger. So you know what happened to dad. He gets hit in the leg, and he's like, son, I need you to get to the Land Rover. And the son is like, I don't know, I can't do it. And he's like, listen, son, you can do anything. Get to the Land Rover, go get help, I'm gonna stay right here. And the son is like, Dad, I can't. And he's like, son, you could do it. And then he's like, Dad, it's a 5-speed. The Land Rover was a stick, you know? And so the son is like, I can't drive stick. And that's when the dad is like, you see it in his eyes. So the son hobbles with the dad miles. And at some point, how you like that? At some point, the dad loses consciousness, you know? So the son puts the dad over his back and he starts walking out. So like 3 days later, he finds this little faint light in the distance. And he carries his dad to the door, bang on the door. The old man comes out, his wife comes out. He's like, my dad's been shot, you know? So they let him in, of course. And the next morning, the son wakes up and either the mom or the dad, the older couple, they tell the son, your dad didn't make it. So the son says, I know. He says, I know. They got a little pollen out here. You got to excuse me. So the son says, I know. He said, I couldn't let the animals eat my dad. So he carried his dad out of the woods. Talking about, never saw that coming, man, you know? But every bit of reminder before the trip that his dad gave him, he used all of that knowledge to get out, to walk out, you know? So in the story, the dad was also reflecting on his experience being a young hunter with his dad. So it goes from like, you know, modern day to his dad reliving some of his experience fishing and hunting elk and moose with his dad and grouse. And so it was a really good story. So every hunting season, I make my daughter watch it. Don't shoot your daddy, girl. So I'm gonna tell you one story, true story, about me and Boo Boo, sous chef. So we were hunting rabbit way down in Plaquemines Parish. The place is called Fort Jackson. We were way down there. Fort Jackson area. And they got some snakes. They got some snakes out there, boy. They got some snakes out there. So we were down there and we just saw this. So the way rabbit hunting works, when you hunt with dogs, the dogs pick up a trail. Hopefully it's a fresh trail. And they smell that trail all the way till it leads them to a rabbit. And depending on when they find the rabbit, a good dog is going to make noise. And he'll start to sing. He'll start to sing, woo, 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 however it goes for the dog. And the pack of dogs, they'll get on that trail and they'll follow that trail. Now, a fast dog, he's able to run fast on trail smelling. A slow dog runs slow on that trail. Slow dogs rarely miss a rabbit because they slow, so they'll follow that trail. The only thing is that rabbit eventually, so you want a dog. Some people like fast dogs, some people like slow dogs. My opinion is it's good to have a mix of dogs, fast, medium, and slow, because the slow dog will never lose that trail in theory. And if the fast dog lose the trail, that slow dog is still on the trail. So that fast dog will come back around to the trail and he should be able to pick it up because the slow dog, but anyway. So, but a slow dog, the rabbit is going to outrun him every time. So we on it, the dogs are on this trail. We probably got about 10 dogs out there and they making all kind of noise. And you could hear the dogs go to the right. Then you could hear the dogs turn left. And then you could hear the dogs is getting louder coming back to us. So when it's getting louder coming back to us, you know that this rabbit is going to be so many yards or feet in front of the dogs. So you need to get ready and you need to be looking everywhere, And so, man, these dogs are making noise and the noise getting louder. So we know the rabbit is coming. And man, this snake come out of nowhere. And next thing you know, we don't hear nothing on the dogs. So we're in a tree canopy, so the sun isn't able to come through everywhere. So it's hard to see clearly. But I stepped on a few snakes. And sous chef was like, "Daddy, you stepped on a snake." I said, "Well, let one go." And these were copperheads, So she took that little 410 shotgun. Bow! And I felt the percussion from those BBs hitting next to my foot. And I never said nothing. I never looked down. And I instantly thought of the Three Stooges, and one of them thought he got shot, but it was motor oil. Something happened where some motor oil broke, and he felt liquid, but it was motor oil. But anyway, that was the first thing popped in my head after the shot. So we kept hunting, and on the ride home, I said, "Hey, you wasn't worried about shooting your daddy's foot off?" She said, "I had him, Daddy." Lupa was on it. She was on it. Now, one thing about Lupa, if that rabbit is running, that rabbit gonna live 99 years. If that duck is flying, that duck gonna live 99 years. But if that rabbit is stopped, if that duck is stopped, we eating. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We eating. We are eating. She can't hit a wet paper bag flying for nothing in her life. But if that wet paper bag on the ground, game over. Game over. But I have enjoyed thoroughly being in the woods with different people who I've been in the woods with. There's nothing like seeing nature from that point of view. Have I successfully harvested animals every time I went? Of course not. I don't hunt for that. I hunt for the opportunity to be successful. And if harvesting an animal is what happens, hey man, we're gonna eat. But if it doesn't happen, I had a great day being in nature, And when we harvest, we eat the animal. we're not into just killing or the trophy. We're not like that, you know. So that's one of the nice things that I appreciate about reconnecting. You know, it's just like fishing. You know, we enjoy fishing on the bank, on the river, just like we enjoy fishing in a boat. You know, we enjoy catching catfish, just like we enjoy catching redfish, flounder, speckled trout, croaker, you know, sheep's head. One day, me and Biker, and I don't know if Fat was with us, but it was me, Biker, and one of my homeboys. We went on down to Grand Isle. I remember this. We had 72 fish caught. 72. 42 of that 72 was sheep's head. Oh yeah, sous chef is a sharp shooter. But we hit them fish that day down there in Grand Isle. We had a epic trip. That was so much fun. So much fun. Yep, yep. It was a great trip. Great trip. It was a great trip. I forgot for sure. I didn't, you know. I think City Boy was the only one not there. But we didn't hit a lot of fish together though. Biker, we didn't went down to Pointe and warm out. You know, I mean, we've had some good trips. Good trips. And that's the nice thing about having the skill set of procuring fish. Fish is instant food, it's instant protein if you can harvest it. You know, now if you jug line, for sure. Yep. If you jug line, you can fish longer without actually casting your line. So with jug line, that's a good skill set to learn because you just basically get a jug, you tie a string or a leader to it, you put a hook on it and some bait. You throw the jug out there in the water. Now you have to have a means of collecting the jug line back. You could tie a string or paracord to the jug so that the fish doesn't go all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Or you could put a stake in the ground to keep the jug from going to the Gulf of Mexico. So there are ways to do those things, but it's all good skills to learn because if you learn it, it's in the repertoire somewhere, you know. But I enjoy the fact of knowing that for the most part, I'm for the most part, I can live off grid for a few months. For a few months. It's not going to be fun, but if you keep the morale high and you keep the reality of what you're trying to do, you can survive, you know. You can even thrive. That's right. That's right. That cast net is a valuable tool. One thing I regret not learning, and I've only did it a little bit, but they got something called a sieve. SIEVE. And with the right amount of rope, you can build a sieve. I hope I'm saying it right. You could build a sieve. And the way a sieve works is one person goes on one side, the other person goes on the other side, and in the middle of you is the actual net. And depending on how tight or big you weave the sieve, you can actually collect fish, shrimp in that net. So a lot of places that are coastal, the fishermen of old who didn't have boats, they would walk out in the water with the sieve in the middle and they just do drags. And they would catch fish in the net, and they'd walk back to the beach and they'd pull it, you know, they'd pull it in. So you are the trawl boat, y'all too. You are the skimmer boards, you are the tickle chain, you know, you're all of that, depending on how big the sieve is. I know how to make a net. And basically what you do, you can just say you take a wooden fence and you tack some nails along the wooden fence on the top of the board. from there, you run a string off of that nail. Like say you do a 30-foot string. So you put all of these nails a few feet apart or a few inches apart. You tie the nail, you tie the string to the nail, and you go 40 feet long on the string. Now it's just like making a lattice for a pie. Now you take another string and you go horizontal, and you tie that string around the vertical string coming off the nail. And if you keep it measured so many inches away, you'll make a net. And that's how you make nets. That is a way to make nets. And I do have that skill set. And so, I'm comfortable with that. I would just need to get some string, But I mean, I'm sure they got a Walmart or Academy or somebody sewing somewhere, So having different little skills could help in certain situations. You're not going to get fat eating like that. I'm going to tell you right now. You'll never get fat eating like that. But you can stay alive, And you can help people in your community around you by burning those calories. It's just like crochet. That's right. Just like crochet. And the tougher the string, the more life you get out of it, But even then, I mean, if you watch the movie Castaway, you could do a lot. Because of man's pollution, there are resources, plastic, glass, all over the coastline somewhere. Or with flooding, there are things that float, that settle, that are in the woods everywhere in southeast Louisiana because of flooding. And even if if you're in a situation like that, you'll find all kind of resources that you could use. You just have to be, resourceful. Even like if you find a propane tank, if you have a little kit and you have like a crescent wrench in your kit, you could take you could take that propane regulator off, fill that bottle up with water just to make sure all of the off gases aren't in it anymore. And if you have the ability, you can, remove a piece of that metal. I never did it with a hacksaw blade, but if you find like a Freon bottle in the woods, or you find one of these little helium bottles, it's a real thin metal. And you can actually take a hacksaw blade on those metals, and you could cut a little spear and a spear tip. You could take a branch, you can burn it to straighten it and temper it. You could put a little slit in it. You could put that little spear point you made from that helium or Freon tank. And now you have a makeshift spear. You put a feather on it and you got a arrow, But you could put that on a long enough piece of reed or wood, and you got a little spear to take small game, And if you do, if you could find a better piece of metal, you might even be able to get a bigger animal like a hog, So it's different ways. Okay, Grandma, we'll see you later, boo. All right now? Yeah, I need to go too. I didn't realize I kept y'all for 80 minutes. But thank y'all for joining this live coffee time. And I enjoyed it. I really did. I still got some things I need to do. And we'll see how it goes. But I'll see y'all at the next one. Don't forget to be resourceful. Don't forget to be prepared from the sense of you can manage on your own with your family for a little bit of time, And don't forget to use YouTube and different other platforms to learn different skills that you might need, And thanks for watching this show. Appreciate it, Stan, for sure. And I'm going to see y'all later at the next one. And just remember, y'all come back now, yeah?